Okay, well, thank you for looking, joining me, Andy Bell, at Andy Bell Photography, having a look at Luminar version 4.2 that Skylum have just released. It's certainly the most powerful RAW converter they've released. I think it's the most powerful one that exists anywhere at the moment. What is Luminar? Well, it's a RAW converter, it's an image editor, and it's beginning to get into the realm of also image management. You can see I've got the grid view open at the moment. On the right hand side you can see I put a couple of folders in. You can add as many folders as you want. I've just got a few open in this test version. To add them, you just click the plus button. You can add a folder with images, it adds the sub folders as well, or you can just go for a single image. And it's quite a useful browser. It looks very nice. It doesn't as yet show you the names of the images. You have to click the info button to see what image it is and get a few details on it, but it's okay. It does what it needs to do. To get to the meat of the program, we go to the edit. You select the image you're after, click edit. Now, this is quite a nice picture I took last year down at the south coast of England. It's a long exposure photo, and it looks like most RAW pictures would look. It's a little bit flat. It needs a little bit of fluffing up, as it were, to improve it. Now, at the moment Luminar's analysing the picture and it's filling in the presets that I've already created from other images down at the bottom of the screen there. So it does take a little while to do that. One of the things you'd notice as you use Luminar is it feels slower than perhaps Lightroom or other tools, and that's simply because it is doing so much more. And I personally think the time spent is well worth it. If you're looking to just make a very quick tweak to a picture, this isn't the program to use. This is a professional editing package that can give you results that no other package can give you, but you have to be prepared to invest the time and the patience in it. Okay, so it's now ready to go, and we can see it's got a number of different areas of where you can edit the image. But one of the first things you want to do is go here, which gives you a few bits where you can clone and crop and things like that, but also the lens details. It has things like distortion correction, so it knows what lens you're using. So if I click that, it just takes away the little distortion that was in this. You can remove chromatic aberrations, that's always worth doing, and you can defringe it as well if there's any residual aberrations. It's got very nice tools for straightening a photo. This one's actually straight, so I leveled the tripod beforehand, but you can rotate things around, you can change the aspect, but generally I just click these three and then move on to the Essentials tab. One of the lovely things about Luminar is it gives the names to its tools, names that you can understand. We understand what light means, colour means, black and white conversion, details enhancer. They're not fanciful technical titles, they're just things that are intuitive, that you understand. Now I could just pick one of my presets, or Luminar looks as they call it, but we'll do this one from scratch. So if we go to light, just want to check, well, it looks okay. I could change the white balance, I can go to the advanced settings, and I can change its color profile from the default one to another one. If I'd created my own profile using a color profile chart, then I could tell it to use that instead, but this actually looks okay to me, so we'll carry on and go to the most powerful of the tools, and this is the enhance, or the AI enhance as they call it. It's become a bit of a buzzword, but this is something that has to be seen to be believed. Most tools, as you know, if you adjust things like saturation in an image, it doesn't work very well if you do a lot of it. If you bung it up to the strongest setting or even to halfway, the picture looks terrible. Well, these enhance settings are a lot better than that. Let's just put it onto 50% to start with, or about 50%. And immediately you can see the picture's improved. We can go to the split view so you can see what it was, what it is. It's improved it, but it hasn't made it look terrible. Let's take it up to 100%. And again, it's subtle, but it's natural. Notice that it's brought out a lot of detail, it's brought out a lot of colour, but it still looks like a good image. It's not overblown. Now the accent works on the whole picture. As you can see, it's improved some of the sky, it's improved the waves, the sand. The sky enhancer just works on the sky, so it can identify the sky in your image and it just concentrates on improving that. It's very clever. You don't have to, although you can, but you don't have to tell it what to include and what to exclude. Now let's just give this 50% or so, and after it's worked on it, see again the sky's got more now than it had before. If I put it up to 100, again it's got more, it's subtle. So now look at the difference. I've got two sliders on 100%, and all they've done is improve the picture. You might not like it. You might think, no, I'm happier with it on 50%. Well, that's fine, but it just shows you how clever these tools are, because you don't have to hold back. You can use the whole width of the settings without having to worry that it's just going to look dreadful. A lovely feature of Luminar, by the way, is if you think, oh, I preferred it on its default setting, you just double click on the number and it puts it back to whatever the default was, in this case 0. I'm going to turn it back on. I liked it. A previous criticism I had of Luminar was that the images weren't as detailed as perhaps they were in DxO or one of my favourite tools, Photo Ninja. Well, we've got AI structure now, and I normally just put it on about 10. Doesn't need a lot. When you hit tab it goes to a full screen view. It doesn't need a lot, but it just adds a touch. If we put this up to 100%, so you can see a part of the picture. Let's go for where the boat was, or whatever that structure is. If I turn off the structure, it just subtly removes some of the detail. Put it back on, then it's again a subtle improvement. If I whack it up, well, it's done a fair bit there. Just give it time to click in. And there we have it. It's still usable. Let's go back to fit to screen. To me that's too much. I prefer it on about 10, but it's not terrible. So 10 or 11 is about what I find the right setting for me. Colour. Well, there's some lovely colours in this picture already, and you've got these overall sliders. I don't use them. You can remove colour cast if you think there's a colour cast on the picture. It just takes a little bit of the blue out, but it's the advanced settings I like, because you can select a colour, like there's brown in this sand. I might think, well, I'm going to just push up the saturation of the sand a little, or in this case a lot. So the sand's got more sandiness to it. And you might think, well, the blue in the sky is actually quite decent. Let's take the cyan. If we remove the colour, we'll see how much cyan was in there, because sometimes it's hard to spot. I don't think actually it's made a lot of difference. It's more to the sea. In the ocean there, if I increase it, gives it a nice bluey colour. If we take the blues, again, it's often best to de-blue it and see that's quite nice. That's obviously way too high. Probably better off just leaving it as it was, but As you see, it's pretty quick to respond. So we got the colours how we want them. You can fiddle with the hue and the luminance as well. We won't look at black and white conversion. Detail enhancer, again, I find just a touch on each one of these, about 10, just gives it a little bit of pop. And again, we can go back to 100%. Let it do its work on that. And the nice thing is I can just turn off, by using this, just turn off the setting, and we can see if it's made much difference. In this case it's just a touch, but that's all you want. When we're dealing with details and sharpness, at this stage you don't want to overdo it. In fact, you never want to overdo it, because it will make the picture look very, very bitty and grainy. It'll add a lot of noise as well. So I add just a little bit to it. I don't touch the sharpen. I don't normally sharpen in any raw converter. I find this is enough, and then I will use Topaz's Sharpen AI, which we'll have another video on that coming up later. But that looks alright to me. Again, denoise I don't use, because there are other tools that are better. Landscape enhancer is a very, very interesting one. Particularly the foliage enhancer, which doesn't count here because there isn't any. But golden hour, we can just warm the picture up. So there it is, we warmed it up. If I turn it off, it goes away, turn it back on, and suddenly it's just got that nice warm glow to it. Now that basically is as much as I'd normally do to a picture, but we've got some new things going on here. If we go to the creative palette, a couple of things that Luminar lets you do. You can replace the whole sky. We'll do that. We'll just put something on. I don't know what it'll look like, but let's go with something a bit different, a sunset. It does take a little while to bring this in. You can see there that it's made a pretty good replacement of the sky. Now you could do that in Photoshop, but notice it's kept the structure there, and it's got this thing relight scene. So if I drag that across, what it does for you is make the underlying image reflect more of what the replacement sky looks like. That's ever so useful. Now for this particular picture, I don't want to replace the sky. I'm happy with what it was, but I just thought I'd show you what it could do. You can also put your own sky images in. Here, custom sky images, and you can get new images from Luminar as well. You can buy them from Luminar. Let's go back to the original sky. So again, we'll just let it undo all of that and go back to what it was before. So there we are. That's the image that we had before. Now what's new in Luminar 4.2 particularly is this augmenting the sky. We can do extra things, like we can add, and what we'll do here is add some lightning. We can add some lightning to the sky, because this is a picture that really deserves a bit of lightning. So just wait for it to appear. Okay, it's there. We can say, well, I don't want it there. I can move it down a little bit, I think. And you can adjust it round, but notice it's lit all of the cloud up around. It just looks quite good. Now this is brand new, and it has a few limitations I've found. You can only pick one of these things and put them on. It would be nice if you could stack them up. I mean, there is a way around it. You develop the picture in Luminar, you reopen the developed picture, and you put another thing on, That takes time. I'm sure that as they progress they will increase the ability of this, but it's a very nice thing to be able to do. So okay, we've placed the object, take that away, and say now we've got our sky with a little bit of lightning. You can do extra things to it. You can create a mask so that it controls where the objects are and which parts of the scene are affected by it, but we'll leave it as it is. Other things we can do, we're going to go crazy here and add loads of stuff. You can add some sun rays, so I'm going to say, well, the sun probably is about here, so I'll just drag it across and we'll add some sunshine. Let's just see what we get. Yeah, that looks very weird, so let's again move the sun. That's better. That's a bit more like it, a bit of sunshine. So we place the sun and we can say let's have some more, or we can reduce it down. You just fiddle with it till it looks about right. I think that looks okay to me. Again, it's not realistic now, and you probably wouldn't want to do this very often, but it's a nice feature, especially if you've got the sun in the sky. To be able to do these extra things is rather nice. And there are other features you can add. Just fiddle about with it until it looks to your satisfaction, really. The third thing you can do is fiddle with portraits. Well, we haven't got a portrait open here, so none of this will work, so we won't use it. But the skin enhancer and the portrait enhancer, they're very powerful. They replicate the functionality of packages that only enhance faces, and they do it extremely well, and you'd have to pay a lot of money just for these two tools in the standalone package, and it comes with Luminar, so it's very, very useful for editing portraits. And this final Pro tab, the bit I like the most on it is the advanced contrast. There's lots of other things you can do. You can add photo filters to warm or cool the picture, but the contrast, just the highlights, midtones and shadows, allow you to do, well, all sorts of things that look good. So just change the highlights a little bit. So again, if we turn it off, turn it back on, you can see that we've dulled the highlights down a little bit. And again, we can do the same with the midtones. We can fiddle with them. Again, these are just adjust them until you like the look of it. So it's worth going back to the split view here. When we started, that's what we had, a nice picture but flat, and I would suggest that this picture is probably over processed now, but it's just demonstrating what you can do with Luminar. And certainly if you put a picture like that on Instagram, which I probably will later, well, people are going to go wow. Some will go, well, that doesn't look real. But this is a tool that you can do whatever you want to with. Now there's a few bits, as I said, we didn't do, haven't sharpened it up, and I haven't removed the noise. There is some noise in the picture, but that's because I think there are better tools available for that. The Topaz Sharpen and Noise or Denoise AI programs are the absolute best for doing that, and so I would, before using this image anywhere, would put it through those two. But that's an introduction to Luminar. As you can see, it's very, very easy to use. If you like the settings that you just created, you can save it as a new look, and then you can batch process a bunch of pictures from this scene with exactly the same settings, and it'll appear that way. So as I say, it's not the fastest tool in use, and they're still developing its digital asset management capabilities, but as a raw converter it is the best I've ever used, and if perhaps you're a bit more restrained than I've been today, you can get some very, very realistic and excellent looking pictures out of it. Thank you for listening.